What does it mean to be a worn soul? There's a kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Not the kind you get from a long day or a hard week, but the kind that settles into your bones. The kind that comes from surviving things you were never supposed to survive. If you've ever felt that kind of tired, you might just be a worn soul. Welcome to Worn Souls, a channel that speaks directly to survivors of trauma from the perspective of surviving my own childhood trauma and finding peace, rest, and success. If you or anyone you know has gone through or is going through a traumatic experience, you just might find this channel helpful as we go through this healing journey together. When I say worn souls, I'm not talking about weakness. I'm talking about people who've been strong for a very long time. People who learned early how to read rooms, how to stay quiet, how to stay alert, how to keep going when stopping was not an option. The truth is, some of you grew up too fast. Some of you carried adult burdens as kids. Some of you learned survival before you ever learned safety. Hear that again. Some of you learned survival before you ever learned safety. And no one ever told you how heavy that burden would become. For me, being a worn soul came from layers of pain, childhood abuse that taught me silence, instability that made me feel disposable, homelessness that stripped away dignity, and addiction that consumed my family and took away any semblance of calm. No, my childhood could only be described as chaos, one storm after another. You see, these things don't just happen to you. They shape you. They teach you how to function in chaos, but they don't teach you how to rest in peace. So let me ask you something. When did you first realize life had already made you tired? Not physically, but emotionally and spiritually. When did you realize you were carrying more than you could explain? Comment below if you can recall that specific moment. For me, it was the moment we walked out of that mental health institution as our mom screamed, "Get them away from me, get them away from me." And my dad, already an addict and an abuser, cried the entire way home saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." A lot of worn souls don't even realize they're tired. We call it being responsible. We call it being independent. We call it being strong. But underneath that strength is exhaustion that simply cannot be explained. Because no one ever stopped to ask, what happened to you? Here's the truth. And maybe you need to hear this. Being worn doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've endured. It means that you've adapted. It means you survived seasons that should have crushed you. But survival is not the same as healing. In this space, this channel is about moving from surviving to thriving as I talk to you about why servant leadership changed my life one person at a time. Slowly, honestly, without pretending the pain didn't exist. So get ready for raw and real emotions as we deep dive into the reality of lifetime trauma. Here, we're going to talk about things most people avoid: abuse, shame, homelessness, addiction, faith that wrestles, and healing that isn't linear. Not to relive the pain, but to name it. Because name pain loses its power. If you're watching this and thinking, this feels familiar, but I don't have words for it, that's okay. You don't have to explain everything yet. Just know this. You are not weak for being tired. You are not dramatic for feeling heavy. And you are not alone in carrying it. A worn soul is not someone at the end of their story. No, a worn soul is someone standing at the edge of healing. And this is just the beginning. So I'll leave you with this. What part of you has been strong for too long? And what would it look like to finally let that burden down? I'll see you next time.